Nearly a dozen states and several hundred municipalities have created so-called Second Amendment sanctuaries. The movement began last fall when Democrats were elected to majorities in both chambers of the Virginia legislature. In response, gun ownership advocates across the country began seeking resolutions declaring counties Second Amendment sanctuaries. The sanctuary resolutions say that law enforcement won't enforce federal or state gun regulations that they feel violate the Second Amendment. At least 8 Indiana counties have adopted sanctuary resolutions, and several more are considering them. Now, over the weekend in Lawrence County, hundreds of people rallied for Second Amendment rights. Lawrence County Sheriff Mike Brenham attended to show his support for the Second Amendment while also reiterating that it's his responsibility to enforce the law.
Strongly support the Second Amendment. My oath, the first part of my oath was I'll support and defend the Constitution of the United States. The second part is the Constitution of Indiana. But then there's a third component of it that people tend to forget, is that I have to uphold the law.
Regulations that are commonly targeted are universal background checks, red flag laws, and assault-style weapons bans. Jody Madeira joins us now to explain the legality of the Second Amendment sanctuary ordinances. Thanks so much for being here. You know, we've heard this term in terms of sanctuary cities. That was in regards to immigration policy, where their local officials wouldn't necessarily give all of their resources to help federal immigration policy. But now we're hearing this for the Second Amendment sanctuary. Are these largely symbolic?
I believe so, and unlike that, more immigrant sanctuary city context, what's going on here is that they're actually asking officials not to enforce laws rather than just not to commit, local law enforcement to supporting federal law.
So how does that work? I've talked with Columbus Mayor Jim Linnep about this, and he talked to his cohorts there in Bartholomew County, and he said, you can't pick and choose which laws to enforce. So that was a county that didn't, is not going along with this. So how does this work? Does it work?
It doesn't work, and actually, ironically, it works because in Indiana we have a law that many other states do, which is a preemption law, and that preemption law prevents local governments from regulating firearms or ammunition. And so it would theoretically prevent anything like a Second Amendment sanctuary resolution. But you also have a principle that's well established in law that says federal and state law govern, and local governments only have the powers that states allocate to them. So these resolutions, are in contravention and really can't be enforced.
So this ordinance is really kind of new. Is there any precedent in the past that you can kind of relate this to understand what can happen or where this could go?
Well, I think, for example, what can happen is in two senses. If a law enforcement officer refuses to enforce, for example, a red flag law or a background check, they can be held liable if their failure to enforce the law creates a dangerous situation that causes someone harm. On a court level, we elect sheriffs to police the law, not to determine what they are. That's really the court's responsibility. Right. And so I do think that courts will find them unconstitutional.
All right, thank you very much.